I wanted to avoid everything with Tamar because y'all kept hounding me. Tamar, Tamar, Tamar.
I was recently contacted by Tamar Braxton's team, who reported a very traumatic injury. She woke up in a pool full of blood, saw many fractured teeth on her.
Name a planet where people start accusing you of doing something nefarious to somebody and you just sit back and you don't say anything.
Tamar Braxton might have just blown the lid off a setup, and the finger is pointing straight at Funky Dineva. The way this drama spiraled has the internet in chaos, with everybody choosing sides. Just last week, Tamar dropped a bombshell when she revealed she'd been rushed to the hospital after a terrifying accident at home. She said she literally woke up in a pool of blood, nose fractured, teeth missing. It sounded like something out of a horror scene. But instead of rallying behind her, fans started piecing things together, and it didn't look good. They remembered Tamar had just been spotted hanging out with Funky the night before.
Even if you didn't want to say nothing publicly, you could have said something privately. Like, damn, friend, you caught up. The whole while I'm being accused of not being a friend to you.
That's when the whispers got louder. Maybe he knew something he wasn't saying, and instead of shutting that down, Funky turned up the heat. He hopped on YouTube, refused to even mention Tamar's name, and started hinting that her accident wasn't tragic at all, but just some wild PR stunt. That's when things really exploded. Funky began spilling private convos, blasting Tamar for not defending him, and threatening to drag her name through the mud while she was still recovering. Now the real question is, was this just messy drama between friends, or did Tamar accidentally expose someone who was never really riding for her in the first place? Everything kicked off with Tamar's shocking hospital post. She told fans she'd been discovered at home, lying in her own blood with her nose shattered and teeth gone. She admitted she couldn't even remember how it happened, which made the whole situation sound even scarier. But of course, internet detectives didn't waste a second. They pointed out Tamar was seen out with Funky just hours before the accident. Once people connected those dots, the rumor mill went into overdrive. And to make it worse, check this. People were already labeling Tamar's accident a publicity stunt, and it spread like wildfire. Other names even started getting dragged into the mess. Whispers claimed Tamar had been seen with Menace, and fans tossed in Yee's name too, sparking more rumors of behind-the-scenes drama. Suddenly, Tamar's recovery wasn't the focus anymore. It became this messy web of accusations, with Funky stuck dead center. And Tamar? She tried to calm things down herself, hopping online to remind folks that she and Menace were nothing more than friends. But by then, the noise was so loud that fans were waiting for Funky to step up and defend her, or at least clear his own name before the streets turned completely against him. But what Funky actually did next, that's what blew this whole story wide open. First off, he wouldn't even say Tamar's name. On livestream, he kept calling her the lady, like she was some random stranger off the street. And that's where fans flipped out, because Tamar ain't some nobody. She's supposed to be his friend. So why talk about her like she's irrelevant? Why dodge saying her name when everybody already knows who you mean? When fans pressed him on it, Funky brushed it off, claiming, "That's just how I talk about people." But the timing made it look ice cold. Here's your so-called friend getting accused online of staging a whole accident, and instead of shutting the noise down, you throw distance between y'all with that shady lady talk. People weren't buying it, and the backlash was instant. Then Funky cranked it up another level. He hopped on Instagram and dropped that infamous caption where he basically promised to drag Tamar all the way down to the floor, and just to make sure nobody missed it, he tagged her directly in the post. At that point, it wasn't about rumors anymore. It was Funky saying loud and clear he had his own bone to pick, and he was ready to air it all out in front of everybody. For Tamar's fans, that move felt like betrayal. Instead of protecting her while she was already hurt and recovering, Funky looked like he was plotting to finish her off online. And if people thought that post was ugly, they weren't ready for what came next, because Funky wasn't done. He jumped back on his YouTube channel and started unloading receipts that painted Tamar in an even worse light. According to him, the moment the accident hit the blogs, he reached out directly to Tamar. Funky said he texted her, tried to check in, and even sent screenshots showing all the wild accusations people were throwing his way. Remember, fans were pointing fingers at him, hinting he might have played a role in Tamar's injuries. Funky claimed all he wanted was for Tamar to clear his name before things got out of control. But instead, he said she left him hanging. According to him, she'd reply about random stuff. But the second he mentioned the accident or begged her to set the record straight, she went ghost. Funky even said he gave her a deadline. Either she posts something to kill the rumors, or else he'd handle it himself. Or else Funky promised he was going to go public himself, and when Tamar didn't move the way he wanted, he smashed that go live button on YouTube. Right there in front of thousands, he spilled their private convos, showing how he'd been blowing up her phone and even reaching out to her team, only to get straight up ignored. Funky said he felt like nothing but collateral damage in her chaos, accusing Tamar of leaving him out to dry while she used the headlines to push her new project. Fans didn't know what to think. Some sided with Funky, saying he had every right to defend himself when the internet was dragging his name. But others thought it was low to throw Tamar under the bus while she was still recovering from a brutal accident.
Maybe if there's nothing to be in on, the fact that you were willing to just sit back and let me be collateral damage and all of this, my response was, I don't know what happened to the lady. All I know is the lady called me and asked me for Dr. Heavenly phone number because she said 4 teeth was missing. I don't know what happened to the lady.
The comment section turned into a war zone. One person even wrote, "We have been knowing that Tamar is not okay. Who could trust her as a friend?" Another added, "That lady thrives on chaos. I don't understand why anyone still wants to be friends with her." The debate got so loud that the story kept snowballing, until Tamar hit the internet with another twist nobody saw coming. Out of nowhere, she dropped the trailer for her brand new project, an EP and a film, and the promo clip had everybody's jaw on the floor. Not only was Menace featured and even her mom, but there was Funky Dineva himself right there on the screen like nothing ever happened. And that's when things got awkward, really awkward. Remember, Funky was already hot that people thought he had something to do with Tamar's accident. So seeing his face pop up in her glossy promo left him furious. Instead of celebrating the project, Funky dragged Tamar again. He went off, calling the whole thing a 2-bit PR stunt, claiming she was milking her accident and the drama around it just to boost streams and sales. And the worst part, his name and face were tied to it now. Funky said people would assume he was in on the so-called stunt because Tamar put him in the promo. To show just how far Funky was willing to go, here's the clip where he flat out says folks were accusing him of being part of Tamar's so-called PR stunt, and he wasn't holding back one bit. And listen, Funky did not hold back one bit. He dragged Tamar's whole project through the dirt, calling it tired and raggedy, and made it crystal clear he felt played. He accused Tamar of not being a real friend, saying she let the blogs and fans toss dirt on his name while she sat silent, using the chaos to push her own work. For Tamar, dropping that trailer was supposed to flip the focus back to her music, but it backfired big time. Instead of hype, it gave Funky even more fuel to torch her publicly. And fans saw it too, saying this wasn't even simple drama anymore. It looked like a straight-up fallout between two people who were once close. One supporter commented, "You can tell in his voice that he is genuinely hurt by this. I'm so sorry, Q." Another hit even harder. "The way she treats her family, y'all can't think she would ever be a good friend to anyone."
The weekend after she said, I'm in the hospital. I said, you know what? Get well soon. I'm gonna do my best to enjoy Miami and going about my business. I'm steady texting and calling different people in the crew. Nobody's answering the phone for me. One person texted me back a few hours later and was like, I was busy, sorry, and just gave me a very vague, y'all should talk. Other person not answering the phone at all.
After days of Funky running wild online, Tamar finally clapped back, but she did it in her own calm, emotional way. She jumped on Instagram and dropped a string of heartfelt posts. In one, she even tagged Funky directly, writing that no matter what he was saying about her, she still loved him. Tamar explained that while she was laid up in the hospital, she honestly had no clue what people were accusing Funky of. She admitted maybe she should have spoken sooner, but back then, she was just focused on surviving and recovering. Then came the part everybody was waiting on. Tamar shut down the whispers once and for all. She flat out denied her accident was fake. Tamar told fans it was not staged, not a PR move, and she was disgusted anyone would even push that narrative. She said the accident was very real, extremely painful, and not something she'd ever play with for clout. And Tamar didn't stop there. She told the world she wasn't chasing drama, she just wanted peace, healing, and room to move forward. She reminded people she's been through way too much to waste energy fighting, especially with someone she once called a friend. For her supporters, the moment was bittersweet. Yes, they were relieved she finally spoke, but it hurt to see how deep the scars between her and Funky had already cut. But on the flip side, a lot of people felt Tamar's response was way too soft compared to how ruthless Funky had been dragging her. While she was preaching love and peace, he was out here calling her projects raggedy and promising to read her to the ground. And if Tamar thought her calm posts were gonna shut it all down, she was dead wrong. Funky wasn't satisfied, not even close. The way he clapped back made it clear. This feud wasn't ending anytime soon. Right after Tamar posted those messages about loving him and denying the PR stunt rumors, Funky jumped back on social media to snatch the last word. This time, he reposted Tamar's story where she tagged him and wrote, "That's all I wanted." According to Funky, it wasn't about the drama, it was about the principle. He wanted Tamar to defend him the same way he claimed he had defended her in the past. He made it clear he wasn't about to let anyone throw his name into messy scandals and then treat him like he's disposable. On the surface, Funky tried to play nice. He said he forgave Tamar, even wished her a speedy recovery, and gave her new project a little good luck shout-out. But fans weren't fooled because tucked in those words were sharp little jabs. He slid in comments about not being toyed with, not being lumped in with other bloggers, and made sure Tamar knew he wasn't the one to play with. To the public, it came off like Funky was trying to act unbothered while still twisting the knife on his way out. Almost like he wanted to appear above the drama, but couldn't resist throwing that one last shady dig before moving on. Of course, fans weren't buying the peace act at all. They flooded the comments saying Funky had already crossed too many lines a real friend would never cross. And reposting Tamar's tag didn't erase the fact that he had already dragged her name through the mud for days. Some wounds, they said, were just too deep to be patched up with one repost. By this point, the damage was already done. No matter how much Tamar preached peace or how hard Funky tried to spin it like he just wanted principle, the streets could see the cracks in their friendship weren't gonna heal.
Text messages saying, okay, now wait, what's going on with you in this video? And I said, see, I knew this was gonna happen. I knew this was gonna happen. I knew this video was gonna come out, and then the narrative was gonna shift to, they did all of this for a PR stunt and he in the video.
Fans were saying out loud what Tamar didn't want to admit, that the love between them had turned into something bitter and it played out for the whole world to see. What made it worse was the double energy. Tamar was posting soft words saying she still loved him and just wanted healing, while Funky was out here throwing slick shade, calling her work raggedy, and low-key clowning her accident like it was a storyline for clout. To people watching, it didn't look like a misunderstanding anymore, it looked like betrayal. The internet labeled it a full-blown fallout, not just a messy fight between friends. Tamar's fans called Funky's moves cold-blooded, saying no real friend would air out private convos while someone was still recovering from a bloody accident. Meanwhile, Funky's supporters argued he was protecting his brand and refused to let his name be tied to something that made him look guilty. But either way, one thing was clear. This wasn't just drama anymore, it was the end of an alliance. Tamar might have wanted peace, but Funky wanted the last word, and he made sure to leave a scar on the way out. And now, fans can't stop asking if this is the final break between two people who once called each other friends, or just the beginning of a bigger war that's still brewing behind the scenes. But just when people thought the drama had peaked, it only got messier, because Funky didn't stop at dragging Tamar. He started hinting that there were other names in the mix, other people who knew more than they were letting on. He dropped cryptic lines about industry folks playing both sides, and fans swore he was talking about some of Tamar's closest connections. Suddenly, it wasn't just Tamar's accident or her project being questioned, it was her entire circle. Whispers started flying online that maybe Funky wasn't the only one Tamar left hanging. Some fans pointed to Menace, saying his sudden involvement in Tamar's project didn't look random at all. Others dragged Yee into the storm again, hinting at behind-the-scenes tension that Tamar was trying to keep quiet. It was like every time Tamar tried to control the narrative, more cracks opened up around her. And here's where it really turned into a circus. Blogs started reporting that Funky might drop a tell-all livestream where he'd expose not just Tamar, but everyone tied to her so-called PR stunt. Screenshots, voice notes, private convos, people claimed Funky had a stash ready to go. Whether true or not, the rumor alone sent the internet into meltdown, with fans begging him to spill while Tamar's supporters begged him to stop. Tamar, meanwhile, kept trying to move forward, talking about healing and focusing on her career. But the internet wasn't letting it go. To them, it felt like Tamar had accidentally lit a match in the middle of a gas station and Funky was holding the lighter fluid. One wrong move and this whole thing could explode even bigger, dragging in more names, more drama, and maybe even exposing secrets nobody was ready to hear.